Welcome back to another edition of Hafeman Bros Talking Packers. And 6-1. 6-1, Brother Ben. What do you think about that?
Yeah.
Pretty good. Is that what that means?
Sure.
Okay. Well, here, all right, so we've had a couple of things. We got some feedback as well before we jump into the game here. And one thing is I think most of the people that listen, they like the show. Some of them would like us to be maybe a little more concise. But we're Hafemans. We're Hafemans, people. That doesn't happen. That's
a little more concise.
That's restraining us. You can't restrain that type of stuff. Then you don't get
concise.
You don't get all the good stuff. Apparently none of them had ever been to one of the concerts where you told a very detailed story. Right? We're detailed people. That's the deal. So, anyway, hopefully you dig it. Now, the other thing I thought might help is this right here. Ready? Listen. I see all these other guys who drink beer while they do their Packer podcasts, and I'm wondering if that might help me, so I'm trying it out tonight.
Whoa.
So far, so good. Okay. Now, Ben, did you expect the Packers to do what they did to John Gruden and the Raiders on Sunday?
Yep.
You did? Tell me about it.
Yep.
Tell me why. Tell me why.
Because I knew they couldn't run on them. And I said that they had a weakness because they didn't have their middle linebackers gone. I said they had a safety who was a rookie who was supposed to be good, but I didn't see him in the game. And they have weaknesses at corner. So they passed all over the place, did a great job. Didn't run so hot, but I knew that was going to be a problem. I knew they were going to score a bunch of points.
Okay. Well, good. I'm glad you were confident. I'm going to tell you my experience from Sunday because it was crazy, okay? This was like one of the most frustrating first quarters for me ever, and I'll tell you why. Leading up to this past weekend, we had great weather here in Wisconsin. And so I said, I've got to do some of this landscaping stuff in my house because it needed to be done. We just moved into another house, new to us, not a new house, but new to us, and had some landscaping issues and some other stuff. And they're like, we're going to take care of that. So I ordered 2 yards of topsoil delivered, 2 yards of stone, landscaping stone. And then we also found out that Tuesday was going to be brush pickup day for all of the branches and trees and all this good stuff. So we cut down all this overgrowth, filled up the curbside, did all this other work, then did all the landscaping work. And I built all that, and I was like, my reward at the end of all of it was going to be the Packer game, right? I was looking forward to that Packer game. Did all this hard work. I'm like, yes. I put all this good juju into the universe, did some good things at the house, for the family, all that. And I go to turn on the game because I was working up to game time. And I go to turn on the game, and guess what I get? No signal. No signal. So then
watch on your phone.
Well, it almost came to that, but I was hoping not because Nick came over for the first time, and I'm like, I don't want to huddle around this phone with my friend and just be watching the game. So then I go upstairs. All right, because I was trying to watch it on the bigger TV in the basement. No signal down here. Now I spent hours figuring the exact perfect spot. And I bought a special new antenna to get all the signals to the channels down here. And it worked every other time, except this past Sunday when I needed it, it wasn't working. So I'm like, come on, man. Come on. So I go upstairs, and guess what I also get? No signal. And there's no weather problems. It's not cloudy. There's not all this other crazy stuff. Like, what is going on? So I change the antennas around. I swap out antennas. This is what's happening. The game is starting. I'm getting really mad because I'm missing it. You know how I don't like to miss any part of the game. I want to see all the plays, make my own evaluation and judgment of them. So no signal. I try some other stuff. I'm getting really frustrated. Then I go to Sling. I'm like, okay, Sling, That's right. I did the free trial on Sling. I'm like, I'd have to pay $20, but if I went to a bar or something like that and got food and drinks there, I'd probably spend $20. I'm like, okay, I'll just do the Sling subscription. So I go into Sling and I try to reactivate it real quick. And it's like, sorry, we can't do that. Go to sling.com to figure out what's wrong with your account. Because once upon a time, 3 years ago, when the Packers were playing a Monday night game and I couldn't watch it, I took the free trial of Sling at that point and canceled before I had to start paying for it. But that meant they already had my info and I already had an account. So I was like, okay, fine. So I tried to go to Sling to figure it out. And then it was because they had an old credit card number, so they couldn't reactivate and charge my credit card because they didn't have the right credit card number anymore. This is my first quarter, dude. So then I'm like, okay, what do I have to do? Well, the Sling is through the Roku. The Roku is attached to my wife's email account. So then I have to go on this Sling account with a password that I don't know what the password is because it was under my wife's account. This is my first quarter. So then I end up trying to send a reset password to my wife's email, which I can't access. And it was just totally nuts. And then Nick says, hey, what about this CBS all access thing? And I'm like, yes, let's try it. So we're looking at that, and that costs money and whatever. But then finally, a free trial. So by the time we got all that set up and finally got CBS, of course, then CBS All Access wants all your information, so you got to sit there and type that in and mess around and whatever. Can't do it on the computer. You got to do it with the Roku, like one letter at a time with this little device. So by the time we get through all of it, the first quarter is gone, and I've seen none of it. And that was my first quarter of this game.
Yikes. That sounds awful.
So what do you learn from that? What did I learn? 1?
Free phone football.
Okay, maybe that too. That's an option. 2, don't do work that close up to game time. So if you have run into problems, you have time to deal with it and you don't miss the first quarter. And number 3, maybe just don't do any good work on a Sunday. Sundays are off. Or Packer game days. Packer game days, no working allowed. That's what I think.
Wow, that was a terrible, terrible story.
It was a saga, man.
I don't ever want to hear it again.
I'm sure you don't. I'm sure most of the people that did listen to this before no longer listen. Except Joey T. We got a new subscriber this week. Joey T. Give him a shout out.
Woo-hoo!
Thank you, Joey T, for subscribing. For subscribing to the channel. Joey T.
I'll say this. I had the exact opposite thing that you had.
Good.
I was supposed to work from 5 in the morning until 1 p.m., which means I would have missed the first quarter of the Packer game. However, me and my team of people got our work done early, and I was like, hey, everybody, I think we should go home early because I want to watch the Packers from the start of the game. And they were all like, okay. So we all left at 11:30 because we got all our stuff done that we had to get done. So I made it home in time for kickoff.
So you got to see the first quarter. There were some cool plays in the first quarter that I only got to see in highlights after the fact. But so you're a first quarter guy today, for sure. Because I got nothing. I got nothing. No first quarter for me. Makes me so... Oh, man. I was getting mad. Okay.
That sucks, dude.
Aaron Jones had some nice plays in the first quarter. I saw those later on.
Aaron Jones had a good game, dude.
Perhaps
he was
one...
doing all kinds of cool stuff.
You know, you start us off here with the plays of the game that we select. Our exciting play, our roller coaster play, and our WTF. What's your first one? What do you got? Could it be Aaron Jones?
No, there's so many good offensive plays. I actually going with the defensive play that got me fired up.
Ooh, okay.
It was the 4th down goal line stand play because I thought for sure the Raiders were going to score a touchdown there. I mean, they had two, 3 cracks at it from inside the 5, and on 3rd down, they did a good job of stopping them, but they were at like the 1 yard line. And I was like, all you got to do is just reach the ball over and he's going to be fine. But I think that because earlier in the game, when Carr had the fumble, I think everybody was too afraid to do the reach out, even with 2 hands on the Raiders. They probably all got reamed during the halftime, and they're like, or whatever it was. So Jacobs jumped up, tried to do like a jump over the top move, and Jair Alexander got in the backfield quick, grabbed his legs, And the linebacker that the Packers picked up right before the season started was it Goodwin or Goodson or what's his name?
Yeah, B.J. Goodson, man.
He was awesome. He smacked the crap out of him in the air, which held him from. I mean, his feet spun around in the circle, did the John Elway, and the ball stayed on the other side of the line of scrimmage, or on the other side of the goal line, so it never went across. And I was yelling and screaming my brains out. I was like, "Holy crap! 4th down stand! What the hey!" And it was an awesome one because it was a huge play, and it was a guy who, hadn't been doing too much. And a lot of times, people were saying that the Packers weren't stopping the run, and they really weren't, and they weren't doing so hot that way, and they weren't really stopping the run in this game either. That's going to be actually my later on WTF play I'm going to talk about. But as far as this play goes, it really fired me up, and I was pretty dang excited about that because really they couldn't stop the Raiders at all. It was the Raiders stopped themselves that game, and that was the first time really that the defense actually did something awesome. Otherwise, they were kind of getting creamed, and even the Derek Carr turnover was more of a mistake by him. So it was good to see, fired me up, and it was good for that linebacker to get a huge play on the goal line there. And yeah, I'll take that as my woohoo awesome play.
Yeah, he's I said that after the game too. BJ Goodson is starting to look better, and they need him to help improve against the run. So I like his progression. I don't know what the deal was. Maybe it just took him a little while to get into the defense a little bit and figure out some of the things. And so perhaps he's thinking less, reacting more. I'm going to go to the offensive side of the ball for my play because last week, actually, no, before I go to that, I do have to say, so is that 2 weeks in a row that the Packers stopped a team from getting in on 4th down? I think it is. Now, the officials gave the Lions that one last week, but they didn't actually get in if you look at the conclusive video evidence. Anyway, okay, now on to my play, which is, I think the beer's helping. Okay, Allen Lazard. Now, I didn't give him his awesome touchdown grab last week, did not make my play. So I think I'm a little biased. I'm giving him a little more because I didn't give him that last week because there are too many other good plays. So Allen Lazard had a big drop early in the game, in the first half, and I was like, come on, man. So Aaron Rodgers was 6 incompletions, one of them that drop, which is crazy. But then the catch he makes in the second half, that ball was so high, I'm like, Aaron Rodgers just thrown out of bounds here or whatever. And somehow he got up and caught that pass and came down with it inbounds. That's my play this week because that was unbelievable. I think he was about 3-4 feet almost up in the air to go grab that thing. That was incredible. And grabs it, pulls it down. That play got me super fired up.
Rodgers is starting to trust guys, and it's pretty awesome because he was throwing the ball to everybody in that game, and it was nice to see that he wasn't just. It's weird how without Devontae there, a lot of people, and I kind of agree. I think it's actually helped the Packers develop the offense a little bit more. They're actually calling plays for guys to get open instead of just Rodgers just looking for Devontae and Jimmy Graham all the time. And that's really helped the offense develop and also help Rodgers get the ball out of his hands quicker. A lot of plays, so he's not getting sacked as much. Those are all good things, and that was an awesome play by Lazard going up and grabbing it.
And one thing too, some people mentioned about Allen Lazard, speaking of him, that his speed is maybe better than most people realize because when the last touchdown, when MVS is streaking down the field and he's running full tilt, Lazard's running with him, and they were, pretty much going the same speed right there. He wasn't like losing ground or anything. Now, MVS maybe a little bit banged up, but he was certainly running his fastest. And so, to me, I don't know how a guy that was his college's all-time leading receiver, 6'5", 227, can jump like that and has good speed, goes completely undrafted. I mean, I don't get it. I don't know how nobody looked at the guy.
Not only that, he was on the Jaguars practice squad last year. The Jaguars practice squad. Not like the Packers practice squad. Not like the Kansas City Chiefs practice squad. The Jaguars. Last year, all they had was D.D. Westbrook and nobody else.
Yeah, but
this guy was on the practice squad.
Right.
So either the Jaguars don't know what's going on or something. I think he got signed by the Packers last year near the end of the season, right? On the active roster or something.
Yeah, because remember how
remember.
before last week game against the Lions, he had one catch for 7 yards. That was in the final game of the season,
Okay.
and he caught that
Right.
pass from the backup quarterback after Rodgers got knocked out.
So he was already signed with the Packers before. Because I was wondering if Hackett kind of brought him over with him, but he didn't because he was already there before Hackett got there. So
That's the Goody effect, man.
That's interesting. But yeah, Goody knows his stuff. Or a team of guys know their stuff.
That's right. I'm a believer in Goody. I'm all in on Goody. All right, what do you got for your roller coaster play?
It's the Jake Kummerow touchdown. Because I was sitting there and Rodgers threw the ball and I was like, is that Kummerow? Is he wide open? Why does he have to slow down for the ball? Why is Rodgers throwing it like that? And Kummerow looked like he was moving in slow motion. That's how slow he was going when that ball was in the air. Because he had to wait for it to get there. I don't know why Rodgers threw it. He could have let him a little more. Kummerow jumps up and grabs it. And I'm like, all right, cool. He's going to go out of bounds right there probably because he's kind of leaning weird. And then all of a sudden I'm like, wait a minute. Wait, what? Tip. You ever watch Looney Tunes? There was a Daffy Duck when he was Robin Hood. It was one of those Looney Tunes, and he had the song where he was like, trip it all the way, and then one because he trip it, and he's tripping around the fall out of space and does all this crazy stuff. It's way funnier to watch it, not me telling you about it. But it reminded me of Jay Kummerow, and I got super excited because here he was tiptoeing 4 or 5 steps along the side of the lines, and then dove in and got the score, and I was like, what? At first, I thought I was just going to catch it go out of bounds. That was freaking awesome.
It's crazy in a game like that with a field that big and all that it can sometimes come down to that tight of a margin for a play. But he did a heck of a job, and that was touchdown Jesus, man. That was I sent you a text after that. I'm like, did you start him this week? Because you started him the other week. You cut him? Oh.
I cut him. I started him last week. Got me 1 point. Then I cut him because I was like, I can't afford to have 1 point. So I cut him, and I picked up Preston. Thinking that he would do something. He did absolutely nothing in that game. We'll get to that later. But anyways, what's your roller coaster crazy play?
All right, mine is something you mentioned already, and that's Derek Carr running for the pylon. And I'm looking at it, and I'm like, oh, come on, you guys. And then Blake Martinez hustles over there, and gets just enough of him. And then the ball comes out, and I'm looking, and, it looked like his knee might have been down in real time. And I was like, oh, fine, whatever, nothing happens. And then you see the replay, and I'm like, woo! So I turned all the way around because I was second. It would have been second and goal from like the 1 and, all this stuff. And that play was, again, I was like really bummed because, you tackled them, but like, so what? Now they're going to score in the next play. They got 2 more plays to punch it in. And that was before the 4th down stand, the 4th goal line stand later in the game. And you're right, they hadn't stopped the Raiders all game. The running backs were crushing them and all that sort of stuff. It turned out it was a fumble, and the Packers get the ball because of the rule, because when it goes out in the end zone and it's automatically touchback and the other team's ball, which is great for the Packers. And then they go on to score 2 touchdowns, and then by the time the Raiders get the ball back the next time, they're down 18 points.
It was a turning point of the game. Honestly, like you said, it's like, boom.
I think the Packers would have won anyway.
It was 14-point swing in one play, or,
pretty
much 14-point swing, and then add another 7 points on there after in the second half. And it's like, because I was nervous. The defense was not stopping anybody. Trevor Davis looked like a superstar.
Oh,
their running back, oh my God, he was making some crazy cuts.
Yeah, he was impressive.
He looked really good. And so I was like, oh boy. At least after that first quarter or so, Packers defense stopped the Raiders receivers from doing anything, which is good. But after that, they still were having some problems. But yep, that was a good one. So that's going to lead me to my WTF here. It's in the first quarter, so you might not have seen it, but you'll see it. It's on all the highlights, so you probably did see it. It's the first drive I think that the Raiders had. It's with Jacobs as a running play, and he's running right up the gut pretty much, and Tramon Williams is standing right in front of him, a good like maybe 2 yards away. And if Tremont would attack him and at least slow him down, it would have been a 6-yard gain at the most. But Tremont like stops and then runs backwards and then runs along with him like 20 yards down the field and then gets blocked in the back, which they didn't call, and then trips around and runs around in a circle until finally like Jair Alexander or somebody tackled Jacobs after like a 40-yard run. And it should have been a 6-yard run. And I love Tremont Williams. He's an awesome guy. But for God's sake, attack the man. He's right in front of you. Slow him down. Do something. He just stood there and watched him. They actually ran backwards. Like the running back was coming at him and he like ran away from him.
That's
like,
the
you're
ha-ha.
supposed to tackle the guy with the ball. No, it was a ha-ha. It was worse than a ha-ha because the ha-ha would have at least gotten in the way eventually.
Woody?
I mean, you watch. Go. It's in the first quarter. You'll see it.
All right.
Watch on the highlights if you have time later on. You'll see Tremont's right there in front of him. Could he easily stop? And I'm just like, what are you doing, Tremont? And then he just runs with him. He didn't even make the tackle. Not even 40 yards downfield, he didn't make a tackle. And it's why, like last year when they had him play safety, and everybody's like, oh yeah, Tremont, he's doing a great job playing safety. I'm like, no, he's not doing a great job playing. It was awful playing safety last year. I know he's not a tackler, but come on. You're a freaking football player. I know you're 30-some years old and you've been playing for years, but your job is to tackle the guy with the ball. Get in the way. Tackle the guy with the dang ball. Should have been a 6-yard gain. Turned into a 40-something yard game. All because Tremont didn't freaking do anything. And it's kind of ridiculous. That's my point.
You're right, though. Tremont's such a likable guy. They don't pay him to tackle, but he does need to at least do a little of that anyway. Okay, my WTF is this. You can pick one. I don't care. You pick one. You can take any of these plays. Who's the guy that the Raiders always throw to?
My guy.
Yeah, your guy, Waller. The guy they just signed.
Yep.
Who's the guy they just gave a contract extension to earlier in the week?
My guy.
Who's the guy that Derek Carr has completed like 25 to 30% of his completions are to that one guy?
That one guy.
Darren Waller. Who's the guy that John Gruden in the media, in his press conferences, has come out and said, we're going to throw the ball to Waller because he's awesome. He's, I think, the best tight end in the league. Blah, blah, blah. All of those things. This is why it's the WTF, because there were 5 times in that game where it's not that he was made a reception. No one was covering him. No one was on him. He's running down the middle of the field wide open. You've got guys spreading out to double and spread out on other guys. And I'm like, why? This is the guy they want to throw the ball to. This is the easiest pass. He's their most dynamic receiver, and you're not covering him. You don't know where that guy is on a play. And I know the Packers were confused at times and not set, but you should know where that guy is. So for all those reasons, you pick anyone. You pick the touchdown, you pick the almost touchdown, you can pick any of the plays. You had 2 touchdowns, whatever. Pick it. That's my WTF. Anything with Waller. Why are you not covering him? I don't get it.
They actually had that first touchdown that they called back because of holding, where he was like, there was anybody within 15 yards of him when he caught that ball. Remember that? That was in the first quarter. You probably didn't see it, but it was pretty bad.
I saw all the other ones, and the highlight showed that one. And yeah, well, I mean, if that happens once in a game, I mean, that's your pass. That's your green light to be like, wait a minute, oh crap. Here's their guy that they always want to throw to. He's their best guy in the pass game. So let's make sure we got him. Okay?
That actually leads to something I wanted to talk about. Something that's actually negative, I guess. But, sorry, folks. I know you like the positive stuff, but
we'll get back to that.
They can't cover tight ends. They cannot cover tight ends. And when there's not only one but 2 good tight ends, then they're in big trouble. I guess the Raiders had 3 good tight ends. So it wasn't just Waller, dude. It was both of those other 2 guys, too, who were killing them. I mean, it was ridiculous. And I don't know if it's because we don't have like that Joe Thomas type guy anymore. Like I think Owen Burks is supposed to be that guy, but he's just getting back from injury, and we don't have Savage, so maybe Savage is supposed to help cover some tight ends, or I don't know what's going on. But they just cannot cover a tight end. And then when there's 3 good tight ends on a team, then they got a lot of problems. And they also can't stop the run when there's good tight ends, because the tight ends are blocking down and doing things that the Packers aren't ready for. That's the one type of thing that scares me, is when they got to play a team with multiple tight ends that are really good. And right now, we watch the Raiders destroy the Packers defense. We also watch the Eagles destroy the Packers defense in the run game and in the passing game. Pettit likes to run all these 7 defensive back sets and 6 defensive back sets all the time, and that's great, but it seems like they're not covering anybody right now. It's very weird. They definitely have a weakness when it comes to covering tight ends, and they got to figure something out, because this is not good. Guess who they play this week? Travis Kelce.
Oh, yeah.
So I know Mahomes is hurt, but they still got to play one of the best tight ends in the league, right? They also got to play the 49ers yet this year. And they've got Kittle, who's like a monster.
He's a goofy dude, too. He's really funny. He's kind of a goofball.
Oh, he could be. But he's also awesome.
Yeah.
So it's like they got to figure this stuff out, because if they don't, eventually teams are going to figure out, they're going to look at what's going on here. And even the teams that don't have great tight ends are going to create a tight end that's a great tight end against the Packers defense.
Yeah, one of those Raiders tight ends actually went to Edgerton High School, and the illustrious college of Beloit College is where he played football. So that's kind of a diamond that you found. He's a pretty good player, and makes that tight end group bolstered up. And then, but Waller, it's inexcusable, man. I don't get it. But you're right. They have problems with it. They thought Burks was going to be the guy. That's why they drafted him. He was supposed to be that fast linebacker that would be great for coverage and could be used very versatile on the defense and all that. He hasn't shown it yet. He had the injury. I get it, but a bunch of times last year you couldn't see the field. So I don't know. He's got to grow into that role, or they could be struggling, because the other thing I don't see is a dominant pass rush. It's not like there's a ton of pressure on Derek Carr. There was some, but not a ton. We've had other games where the Packers they got there at key moments like we talked about, but plenty of other plays where there was almost no pressure. That's a concern, because this is the one thing, like, we get through this game and the Packers dominated and they win 42-24, and it was even worse than that. A couple late touchdown by the Raiders made it look better, all that stuff. And then the national media takes off on that and is like, oh my gosh, the Packers are maybe the best team. They're the best team in the NFC. They're now watch out. This offense is on track, and you put that with the defense, and you put that with whatever, and Aaron Rodgers is playing great. And all of, he did play great, and the offense was on track in this game. But football is like all over the place. You see what happened in some of these other games in the league? You don't know what's going to happen each week. Matchups different, the weather, everything changes almost week to week. There's very little that's consistent, or at least at the same level. So you can't expect this type of offensive performance to be there every week, especially when you're playing a really good team like a playoff type team. So then when I look at some of the other teams that I've seen, the thing that I see from the Saints and the thing that I see from the 49ers is a dominant pass rush. The Saints pass rush just chewed up Mitchell Trubisky and the Bears. I know Trubisky's not great and all that, but he's athletic, and he had nowhere to go. He had a ton of pressure on him all game long. And those dominant pass rushes, I don't care how good your quarterback is, we've seen it when the Packers in the past have had to go against a dominant pass rush, and Aaron Rodgers has no time. And yeah, he'll still make some special plays here and there, but he'll have a bunch of times he's getting sacked and a bunch of drives that just die, because when you are going against a dominant pass rush, that's a difference maker in a game. That changes the way you play or how effective you are, no matter how good you are on offense. Those teams still look scarier to me than the Packers in the NFC, and because of that pass rush that you see. And the Niners are built that way. Like, that defensive line is a monster. And so you got to deal with that. And I don't know. The Packers' defensive line is nice, and we love the Smiths, and they're good players, and we like Kenny Clark, and we like Dean Lowry and some of that, but it's not, hey, we're going to beat everybody up and just destroy the other team's offensive line. That's not what's happening for the Packers defense, so it's not quite at the same level. The Packers are an awesome team. They're definitely a Super Bowl contender, but after one game, the national media to jump on that and a bunch of them to say that, I don't get it. I don't get it because of what I just said.
Well, it's interesting. I like Chris Sims, and he took his deep dive into the Packer-Raiders game, and he said that exactly what you're saying. The Packers' defense is kind of decreasing its abilities right now. It's like going the opposite direction the Packers' offense is going. But I'm hoping that that's partly because they're missing Savage, who I think is a game changer. I think Redmond's a good player, but he's not like a dynamic playmaker where Savage can do that sort of thing. You got to figure something out.
Well, I mean, the other thing I think is a lot of people probably expected, hey, we're going to come in here and just rave about the Packers. That's what everyone's done the last 2 days. And I love the way the Packers played. I think their offense was awesome on Sunday. And Aaron Rodgers played a great game. And the receivers stepped up and made some awesome catches. And a lot of great things that they happened. And the offensive line was good. And the running game was good enough. All of that was true. And the defense was opportunistic. Okay, again, they gave up some yards. They gave up some big plays. The one thing I'll say about them for sure is they don't give up on plays, because that was Waller again getting a big pass play, which set up the Raiders at 1st and goal at the 3. And then 2 plays later, Derek Carr fumbles and gives the Packers the ball. So
yeah, it was Redmond who tracked him down and tackled him at the 3. So,
right. So guys don't give up on plays, and that's awesome to see. That's great to see, because that's what you need. Because you never know. In 80, 85, 90% of the time, you tackle a guy at the 3. You stop that big play from getting in the end zone. That team's going to score a touchdown in a few plays, right? High percentage of the time. But you never know what can happen. So you've got to make that tackle and give yourself a chance. And this team does that, including Blake Martinez. How about a shout-out for Blake Martinez, Ben? His career high in tackles, 16 tackles in that game against the Raiders,
great.
and the forced fumble. Good fantasy day as well for a defensive player. The other guy that stood out on defense, and the reason why I want to mention him, the reason why I do, is because a lot of pub and a lot of the attention has gone to the Smiths. But even though the defense was up and down against the Raiders, Amos played a very good game. He was solid tackling. He diagnosed plays. I think he had the second most tackles on the team in the game behind Martinez. And he had the key tip, which then led to the Kevin King interception in the end zone, which really staved off the Raiders and shut them down. So, Ben, after we talked about all of this stuff, I'm sure nobody expected to tune in to Hafeman Brothers this week and hear us hammering on some of the deficiencies and some of the things we saw that weren't so great because of the result of the game, because the Packers are 6-1, which are all awesome things. And I get it. We're supposed to love it all. And we do. But the thing we're looking at is we're looking at those other teams. We're looking at the Saints. We're looking at the 49ers. We're looking at this, and even the Vikings, who have really turned it around, are coming on. And if the Packers want to get to the Super Bowl, which is where we want them all to get, they have to get through those teams. If they don't get a first-round bye, they're going to have to play 3 very good teams to make it to the Super Bowl. And on the flip side,
yeah, man, right now the Vikings at 5-2 are the 6th seed.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, you got to play, like, all these teams are awesome. They're all better than everybody in the AFC except for the Patriots. It's kind of like a NBA thing where the West has always got a ton of good teams and the East has got like 3. Well, in this case, the AFC's got 1 team and the NFC's got like 7 that are all really good. And the Packers are going to have to deal with going through a gauntlet to get to the Super Bowl again, and the Patriots will just walk right in there.
I mean, their schedule is a joke. They should go undefeated this year. They should go undefeated, and then in the playoffs too. I mean, who's going to challenge them? The Colts? The Texans? Do you buy any of those teams? The Chiefs were supposed to be the big challenging team. Now Mahomes is hurt for a while. Is he going to be the same when he comes back? Like, come on. How much easier can it be for the Patriots? So it's pretty much written. The Patriots are going to get there. They got a great coach. They're not going to screw it up. And as long as they don't screw it up, they should get there from the AFC. But this NFC, this is why we're doing this. This is why we're looking at it this way, because the Packers have to get through all those teams. And in order to get past those teams, they've got to clean these things up. These things we're talking about have to be better, or the Saints' defense is going to be what torches them. Or maybe, look at the Saints' creativity in offense. I have to salute Sean Payton. He's a heck of a coach. He's taken, without Drew Brees, he's morphed this offense into whatever it needs to be to win. And he's using the ultimate weapon, Taysom Hill, who the Packers let get away. And they're just doing all kinds of great stuff with that guy. And why wouldn't you want... God, that one still burns me, man. Why wouldn't you want that guy on your team? He could be a developing quarterback, but he's 227 pounds. He's fast. And he's super versatile. They use him on special teams. They use him on offense. Did you see the play he got? They ran an option play with the fullback, where the fullback pitched it to him, and then he ran 20-some yards with it. They throw passes to him. Like, the guy's a weapon. And the Niners, I don't know.
But the Packers have a weapon too, man. The Packers have a weapon who they know how to use.
Who you got?
Holly, baby. What?
Who?
Oh, yeah. What?
Say it again.
Vitale.
Vitale. Finally. We saw some fullback Danny Vitale. We got to like that. But Matt LaFleur. Yes. You avoided Aaron Nagler asking you a question point blank on that again by finally getting Vitale in the game. That's good.
Not only that first pass, Aaron Jones had a killer blitz pickup on that one. It was awesome. The first pass to Vitale. And the second pass to Vitale, Rodgers threw an awesome ball. It was like just over the shoulder of the defender. Like, it should have been tipped or something if he would just turn around and look, but luckily he didn't. And Vitale caught it and took off. I'll say one thing about Vitale. He has a long stride when he runs, but he's moving fast. Like, he doesn't look like his legs aren't moving fast. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But he takes up a lot of ground when he's moving. You know what I mean? Like, his legs are like, he must be doing like 4 yards at a time with each freaking step. That's crazy. Because he went from 0 to in like 20 yards on those catches. He catches the ball and goes for another 20 yards, and it's like the guys aren't catching him. And he doesn't even look like he's going that fast, but it's like he's moving.
The other part we liked seeing was Aaron Rodgers getting the ball out on time a bunch in this game. A lot of the plays worked. A lot of the guys were open. Good play design, good calls. And Rodgers is letting the ball go and trusting his guys, like you said. And that's a big thing for him, because the week before, all those guys let him down. We talked about how many drops there were, how many miscues by a bunch of those receivers, and hey, they did the job, and they more than did the job this game. The perfect passer rating was great. Like, the way he played was great, and he did a lot of amazing things. He also did some really creative special extension plays and got out of trouble and did those things when he needed to, but he didn't have to do that so much. But the other part was that he was able to just play within the structure of the offense, and it worked. And like I said, maybe some of the passes weren't quite exactly on point in some cases, as they were even in the past few weeks. But because the guys made plays, great adjustments and great plays, and were heady and did all that, it all worked beautifully. Now, can they continue to do that? I think so. I think you got something here with a lot of these guys, with Vitale, with the other running backs. You called some simple plays. We saw a touchdown to Jamal Williams. Just a simple route in the flat, Ben. Just a simple route in the flat. And guess what? It worked, and it was a touchdown. How many years have we been
the ball
calling for that play?
Ball comes out fast.
Right.
That one, other one. Even the Jimmy Graham touchdown, that was the Urban Fryer route. The guy, he just ran a shallow cross all the way across the field. And Rodgers had to hold the ball a little bit longer, but the offensive line is holding the ball or, blocking very well in that game. There were a lot of plays where it was catch the ball, 1-2, he threw it. Now, I don't know if that's the Raiders' defense is not so hot. I don't know. Chris Simmons was saying something where their defense is pretty vanilla, and he thinks that Rodgers gets out of the huddle and he can tell exactly what the defense is doing as soon as he looked at it.
and that's how he kind of knew what to do with everything. And that could be the reason why they moved the ball so well. I don't know. Either way, though, the most important thing is he got the ball out of his hands right away. He was doing short passes to the running backs. He was doing short passes to Jimmy Graham, and Jimmy Graham caught one, made a guy miss for God's sake, and ran for 20-some yards. I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow, Jimmy Graham just made a guy miss and ran.
Yeah,
and then MVS's big, huge touchdown. That was a short little, quick. Rodgers caught the ball, 1-2, threw it right away out of the out route. And the next thing you know, boom, he's gone. And here's Aaron Jones blocking up field for him. But that's another thing. You mentioned that last week when you said that Aaron Jones and Vitale were like lined up wide on those a couple plays last week.
Mm-hmm.
And you said that you thought it was because they ran out of receivers. I'm thinking it wasn't because they ran out of receivers. I'm thinking those were designed plays. And we're going to see even more stuff come out of that later in the year. LaFleur is doing some cool stuff, man. He's not messing around. This is so much different than McCarthy's line up 4 guys and just run straight down the field and look for the back shoulder pass, because that's pretty much what they ran for the last 5-6 years, which was the most boring, unimaginative offense of all time. And now you got Aaron Jones doing a quick slant to the corner of the end zone and then adjusting and flipping over the other side and catching it over the other shoulder. You've got Vitale running out of the backfield. It's way more dynamic. There's plays that are run specifically to get guys open from similar formations that look the same, but then there's a totally different thing happening, and it's confusing to the defense. And that's very exciting to see. And I think that's one of the things that it's taken Rodgers a couple games to get into that. Like I showed you that one play when they played the Broncos where he could have easily passed it out to Devontae had a quick pass, but he didn't see it. I think now he's been in the offense for a couple weeks, and he's able to see the things that are supposed to happen, and they're happening now, and he trusts them. Or most of the plays happen within the actual flow of the offense, which I think is a direct responsibility, or comes from LaFleur and Nathaniel Hackett and all those offensive guys who are coming up with a game plan. And even after the game, Rodgers said in his press conference, he's like, it just feels like LaFleur is getting what I'm getting. He understands what I'm looking for, and I understand what he wants me to do, and we're both seeing the game at the same way, and he knows exactly when to attack and when to kind of pull back and when to do things differently, and it's something where it's really working right now. And I think that if they can keep that up, though, maybe the defense won't have to be that great because they're just on point the whole time, every game, and that would be amazing. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, the other refreshing thing was that they continued to attack versus if McCarthy had a 35-something lead in the third quarter, he's shutting it down. We're running 3 times and punting, right? I mean, that's what he did. He just took the foot off the gas. And LaFleur was saying, hey, we're gonna attack these guys until we know we got this thing put away. The Packers actually didn't stop or didn't take Aaron Rodgers out of the game until the Raiders took Derek Carr out of the game and put Mike Glennon in. That was very refreshing because you look at these crazy games and stuff can happen, and you do not want even a 3-score lead in the fourth quarter is not safe because all it takes is a couple of 3-and-outs or a turnover or a screw up on special teams. You give that other team life and they can score quick, and you don't want to put yourself in that position. So you got to put teams away. And the only way you do that is keep doing what you're doing. If it's rolling, you keep doing what you're doing. They keep that going. I mean, I feel really good about the Packers. And I think, I want to see it. I want to see them play the undefeated Patriots in the Super Bowl and knock them out. That's what I want to see in the end. We got some work to get there.
The offense looks so good right now. Packers offense looks dynamic. Looks awesome. I'm super pumped. I wish the special teams was a little bit better. But I really don't expect it to be any better because they haven't had good special teams in like 10 years. So that's since I don't even know.
My personal friend, Micah Hyde. Did you see the play he made, dude? On an onside kick?
No, I didn't see any play.
Oh, my. Look it up. Look it up. At the end of the game, the Dolphins got a late score, and then they're going for an onside kick, okay? And Micah Hyde, they had the wall guys. Remember how, like in 14 for the Packers, this is how it should have worked? The guys in front are the wall guys, and they block. They don't touch the ball because there's a guy that's going to field the ball. And the wall guys blocked everybody. and the ball bounced up high, and Micah Hyde was the guy to receive the ball, and he grabbed it. He jumped up high to catch it, pirouetted, spun around as he came down, and then just took off and ran for a touchdown.
What?
Yeah. You got to look up the highlights, man. Just look up.
I got to see that.
Dude, it's an awesome play. And he's my friend. A personal childhood. Well, not childhood, but we met a few years back. My good friend Micah Hyde made another awesome play, and he's a great guy. And I wish he was still on the Packers, but he is a Packer alumni, and he will always be a Packer to me. Micah Hyde.
I wish he was a Packer. Really bad.
He's such a good dude, too.
He could cover a tight end, I'll tell you that.
Yep, he could cover a tight end. He's smart. Anyway, made another awesome play. I'm really hoping he gets another Pro Bowl nod. And who knows? Maybe the Bills can take down the Patriots next time they play him and just, I don't know, shake up their season a little bit. Because,
well, I'll tell you this. The Bills should have beat the Patriots that first game they played them a couple weeks back.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for Josh Allen throwing these wounded duck dumb freaking passes in the triple coverage. I don't know what he was thinking, dude. I watched that game, and it was like just the dumbest thing I've ever seen. Like, he would just go back and then throw a 40-yard bomb into double coverage, and then they throw a pick, you know. And then the Patriots defense would come out, or the Bills defense would come out against Patriots offense, shut them down again. Josh Allen in the offense get the ball, and he'd throw another 30-yard freaking bomb into triple coverage and throw another pick. Like the very next series, I'm like, what is going on with this guy? Like, why is he throwing nothing but freaking 30, 40-yard bombs all the time in this freaking triple coverage? Like, how dumb is this guy? It just blew my mind how many dumb plays he was doing. And the Bills just keep coming out on defense, stopping Tom Brady, and then Josh Allen just keep giving the ball back to him. And it was just like, wow, I'd be so mad if I was Micah Hyde or any of those guys. I know it's Packer podcast, but Bills are like my other favorite team that I have right now because they just got really good guys on their team, and they seem like they're really well coached. And if they just had a quarterback who didn't do dumb stuff all the time, they'd probably be pretty dang good.
Yep. Plus, they got Micah Hyde, man. I mean, it's just good people, man. He's a good person. Always did the right thing. Good player. Those are the kind of people you want to keep. And I guess that's one thing, you know, Gutekunst is really focused on with the Packers is doing that. They talk about it all the time. And LaFleur says it. Rodgers says it. Gutekunst says it. They want the right people. So they're not going to. So when people bring up these crazy scenarios like, oh, they should get Antonio Brown or they should get, you know, this pain in the ass guy or whatever. Like I don't care how talented the guy is. They're not going to get him. Because they know that the trade-off for what they're building, the trade-off and messing up team chemistry and having one of these guys who's a big pain in the butt or a diva or whatever is just going to screw up the whole chemistry of the team. And they don't want someone like that representing their organization. And I don't blame them. You know, the Patriots do it the opposite way. They'll take anybody. They will give anybody a shot because they want to win. And if you're talented, they don't care what you've done ever. They'll put you on their team and they'll see if it works for a year. But the Packers are not going to do that. And as a fan, like, yeah, do I see sometimes the benefit that could be in terms of talent upgrade? Yes. But do I really want guys like that on my team? Not really. So I'll take it. I'll live with the results. But I sure the heck would like to see some of these really good guys, you know, win it all. And I hope that's what the Packers can do this year. So that's my take on it. I don't know if the beer helped, but maybe a little bit. Maybe not at all. I don't know.
I know this has been the weirdest Hafeman Bros Talking Packers.
Is it weird?
Podcast so far. Yeah, we've been all over. I don't know what we're talking about halftime, but
damn,
that's all right. We're talking about, you know, all kinds of weird stuff, Micah Hyde and other teams, and all kinds of. It's been odd. It's very odd. I thought this one would be us just gushing about how awesome the Packers offense was, and it's not that at all. So.
Well, I thought we were going to do that
very
too.
Strange.
I thought we were going to do that too, but you know what? Everybody else did it, so we got to do something else. That's what we do. You know, we can't be like everybody else.
Well, maybe we should. You think Aaron Rodgers is now MVP candidate? That's all I've been hearing. after one game of 5 touchdowns and then one you ran in?
You know what? I think he should. I think he could be. But the other thing I think is some of these people are really dumb in the national. Here, let me just get mad again. Some of these people in the national media are really dumb because they're like, "Well, you just played a really great game." I'm like, "No, he's played several really great games. Like the numbers weren't there in terms of touchdowns and stuff, but he played a great. Like if you watch the games, he played great against the Eagles. He played awesome against the Cowboys. It's just that they ran the ball for touchdowns." Okay, so he couldn't get the touchdown passes because they ran the ball. Just like this last game, they threw all the touchdowns. So there could be no rushing touchdowns because you only get so many possessions. You only get so many touchdowns in a game. But he's played great for the last 4 weeks. So people are like, well.
Played great against the Lions, too.
Yeah. I mean, he played great in the Lions game. He just had dudes drop the freaking ball all the time. Like, the guy's awesome. He should be the MVP almost every year. That's what I think, but. You know what?
We all know he should have won 2 years in a row. When Cam Newton won, he should have won, and when Matt Ryan won, he should have won. I think it really bothers me. How do those two guys, Cam Newton and Matt Ryan, win MVPs after one good year, and then after that they stink? And they've stunk for years after that.
Yep.
And in the year that Cam Newton won the MVP, he had less passing touchdowns than Rodgers had, but he had more total touchdowns because he ran a couple. He had like 6 or something rushing touchdowns, which put him over the top for total touchdowns. But the problem with the MVP is they wait until after the NFC Championship game before they vote for him. And Cam Newton got to the NFC Championship game and won it. So they voted for him. And they said, oh, well, he had more total touchdowns. The very next year, Matt Ryan got to the NFC Championship game, and Aaron Rodgers got beat by Matt Ryan in the NFC Championship game. And in the regular season, Matt Ryan had more touchdown passes than Aaron Rodgers, but Aaron Rodgers had 3 rushing touchdowns that year and had more total touchdowns than Matt Ryan had. However, that very next year, they changed the rules and said, oh, well, Matt Ryan had more touchdowns. And they didn't talk about how Aaron Rodgers had more total touchdowns. They said Matt Ryan had the most passing touchdowns in the league that year. And then because he went to the NFC Championship game, they voted for him to be MVP. And then he won it instead of Aaron Rodgers. And Aaron Rodgers was runner-up both of those years, 2 years in a row, when he should have won it. And the year after that, he got the collarbone broken because of a stupid bar. Then the year after that, we had the McCarthy escapade. And now this year is the year where he better win it.
The other thing that bugged the crap out of me about that year, or 2 things about 2016, where Rodgers should have won a 3rd MVP for sure that year. Like that year, he should have definitely won it.
He should have won the one for Matt Ryan.
Yeah,
Matt Ryan should not have won.
That's 2016. And so you're right. It's like they just totally wrote off the rushing touchdowns he had because he had 4 or 5 rushing touchdowns that year. But he also had 22 or 24 first down runs. So he ran for that many first downs, which were chain movers, which were drive continuing plays. Because he wasn't.
Plus, that was the run the table year, wasn't it? The run the table year.
Yeah, and the other problem was
where he put the team on his back to make the playoffs. They had to win all the last 8 games of the season.
They had to win.
They still didn't win MVP.
They had to win the last 6 to get in. The other part with that whole thing was the Packers won those last 6, and he played great, but he played great for the last 10 games of that year. Like they had a little bit of a slower start, and he had a couple of stinkers early in the season, which everybody has a couple stinkers in there. But
but I remember everybody talking about they're like, what's wrong with Aaron Rodgers? What's wrong with Aaron Rodgers? I remember everybody saying that.
Oh yeah,
the first 4 or 5 games of the year there that year.
Yep, they were flipping out. But he played awesome like the last 10 games of the year. But because they didn't win some of those, it's almost like those were completely forgotten. I think it's like the last 9 games. So it's like the 6 that they won plus the 3 before that. If you look at his stats during those 9 games, I was like incredibly sick. It was just unbelievable play. Like blow Matt Ryan way the hell out of the water or anybody else. And yeah, and then you know, the team itself was not good. and he brought them all that way and all that stuff, and and he doesn't win it. That was a crime. That was ridiculous.
This podcast has been wacky, so we're staying wacky.
All right, so we know they play the Chiefs next, and we talked a little bit about Travis Kelce and some of these guys. They got Tyreek Hill back. They got Matt Moore, a guy who didn't even play any football last year, now as their quarterback. So I don't know how.
I like Matt Moore.
I do too. He's fine. He was like a solid backup guy, decent player, all that. So
It's always good. He got screwed like multiple times. Everywhere he was, whatever team, like I think it was the Dolphins. I think it was the Jaguars for a while too.
I don't know about that.
It was
But it was definitely the Dolphins, and then it was also the Panthers, right? I think.
I don't know. All I know is he was with a couple teams, but every time he was with a team, he'd come in, play good, and then they would like draft a guy and try to replace him. And then that guy would come in and suck, and then they'd have to bring Matt Moore in, and then he'd play good, and then they would still go back to like Tannehill. I remember when Tannehill showed up for the Dolphins, they kind of just shoved Matt Moore to the side. I don't know. All I know is the guy is like a solid, smart guy who can pass the ball. You know, I mean, he's accurate. He doesn't do dumb stuff. I think he's a good player. He's a lot like Alex Smith. The Chiefs won a lot of games with Alex Smith the last couple of years, right before they turned it over to Patrick Mahomes. So I'm thinking that, you know, Andy Reid can figure something out here with Matt Moore, and the Packers might have something to worry about. We'll see. It's Sunday night game, so that's pretty cool. It'd be cooler if it was Patrick Mahomes against Aaron Rodgers, but it's not. So we have to see what can happen.
Now the Packers have played most of their tough games for a while. Many of the games coming up. This was supposed to be a tougher one, but with Mahomes being out, it's definitely a different type of game. Doesn't mean the Chiefs still aren't dangerous. They certainly can be, but I want to see the Packers be dominant. You know, I don't want to sweat out another victory for a while here. So I want to see them win. I want to see them win convincingly. And I think the stage is set for that. I mean, that defense should be challenged now to step up, to have a dominant performance by the defense to set the tone, and the offense continues to roll. And let's see another big win. That's what I'm looking for. And I want to see him get after the quarterback again, especially with a guy who hasn't played much and wasn't even in football last year. So, you know, he's solid, but hey, if he's not used to getting hit and all that stuff for a while, let's go hit him and see what happens.
Sounds good. Let's do it. 6-0, 6-1, dude.
6-1's good.
7-1.
6-1's good. 7-1's better. We're hoping for it. You know, at the start of the year, I don't know anybody would have thought that, but that's what we're looking for. So this one's big. Go get the Chiefs win. Go get it. That's needed. All right, Brother Ben, we love you, and we will talk to you again next week.
Sounds good.
Still hold me till I dream of you. Got to find